Privet Katila Wanang Ruski Desu. So, today I'm gonna make a video about this whole Iran situation, another off-the-cuff video. Now, as you guys know, or maybe you guys don't, but most of my videos are scripted, except my gaming ones, and usually when I talk off the cuff without any sort of script, I kind of mumble around. Let's be honest here, I'm kind of like an orangutan when it comes to these types of situations, but this is good practice, and I think it's I just kind of want, I guess this is a way to, improve my skills in talking without a script, I guess it's good practice. I mean, practice makes perfect, right? Okay, so to the topic at hand, Iran. So this is on January 8th, I'm making this video, and so basically we just came, they're calling this like the 2019 to 2020 like Iranian-Persian Gulf crisis, where there's just these huge escalations, and so basically everyone knows what's going on. We just we killed Soleimani, assassinated him, and there was a response from Iran by bombing some American bases. And I wanted to give kind of background on all this, just kind of explain what happened for the first thing. So basically explain, and then kind of give my opinion on what, my take on the situation. So basically, for Iran, what happened was that this all started, a lot of people say that the reason why these escalations started is when we pulled out of the nuclear agreement. Now, if we had to go a little bit further back, Iran and America has always been kind of at each other's throats a lot. Firstly, because, and if just look at the back, we overthrew their government in the 1950s. We installed the Shah. And when we installed the Shah, they were deeply unpopular. Well, they were deeply unpopular, and then they overthrew it in an Islamic revolution, and then now they're kind of their own thing. And now we are always. But my thing is that it is possible to be both. And listen, I'm gonna be quite honest here. The only reason why we're kind of against Iran is because of Saudi Arabia and Israel. Those are because we're allies with Saudi Arabia and Israel. We are confrontational with Iran. Now, Iran and America have never really seen eye to eye. Now, it's kind of, sometimes we have, whether for example, when we fought ISIS, we actually backed up the rebels by the Soleimani, who fought against ISIS, was one of the Shia groups that fought against the Sunni ISIS members. When he did, we sometimes work with Iran to combat sort of those types of things. But generally in geopolitics, we're against Iran, in the same way that we're against North Korea and such, because they're opposed to kind of our sort of interests, in the region. Now, here's what happened. So we withdrew from the nuclear agreement. So what does this nuclear agreement even mean? Like, what was part of it? So it's called the Joint Action Pact, something, the Committee of Joint Action, something. The JACA, something. So what happened was that we, in this agreement, we said, look, if you dismantle your ability, basically, to get a nuclear bomb through basically limiting drastically how much enriched uranium, like very, very below what's required, eliminating most of your stockpiles of enriched uranium, limiting heavy water, just all these types of things. And if you basically lower your amount to get a nuclear weapon, you'll be able to will unfreeze your assets, and will lift some sanctions. Now, not all sanctions. Some sanctions, like because of human rights and such, we will keep. But a lot of sanctions that we would have on you was going away. And I think, now, my opinion, here's my first opinion, this was a great deal. One of the greatest deals in a long time. Now, Trump says, like, oh, that there is not a lot that we could add on. We could have added on, like, they could have restricted their fighting in, like, their proxies. Or it's like, well, you can't get everything in a deal, okay? But this was a great deal. Here's basically, if you had to get, you get rid of your nuclear bomb, trying to get your nuclear bomb, and we will give you back your own money, and we will stop sanctioning you. Basically, it wasn't like, oh, we gave them something. Like, we give them something in return. No, we just, let's say we sanctioned you, and we're freezing your assets. We're not going to let you get your money back. We're going to give you back your money if you do what we want. Well, this was one of the most best deals you could have done. And so honestly, this was actually a really, really great. This prevented Iran from getting a nuclear bomb, and this would have was an opening for more negotiations. Now, but we withdrew from it because now here's my opinion, because this was made by Obama. Now I think we all agree. Now I'm a person on the right, so I don't really have much love for Obama, but we all know that Trump doesn't like Obama. In fact, you could probably tell a little part of his mentality in office is always dunking on Obama. It's always like trying to get rid of his legacy because he got slighted by him. At least that's probably one of the reasons, and I think that's what guides him in his policy. That's why he ripped up and I think, and everyone was against it, and in the Republican side. So this was actually a really he got rid of it and installed sanctions, and not only sanctions, he blockaded Iran from shipping out oil, which now is tumbling their economy. They're now on their knees. This was complete devastation of Iran's economy, and because of this, they now there's escalations. They blew up our drone. Oh, now we blew up their own drone. Oh, now and then there was this escalation earlier in the summer of 2019, and now that almost led somewhere, but because of a last minute from Tucker, I think, or Trump didn't bomb Iranian sites, which, I mean, we would, that would have been horribly gone wrong. Now we're going to that was kind of the past. So ever since we got rid of the nuclear agreement, ever since we got out of the nuclear agreement, we've been sort of trying to we've been escalating, and more from Iranian, we bite Iran, they bite back, and then now a few things. And then we're coming to today. So what happened today? In the late December of 2019, an American contractor was killed. Now, this contractor was an Iraqi citizen, American citizen, but he got American citizenship in 2017. He was Iraqi before, and he was a contractor. So, because of one of these sorta Iranian-backed militias, they fired some rockets, and then they killed one American contractor. Because of this, we said, okay, we're gonna now completely obliterate this militia, this Shia militia. With a bombing thing that killed, I think, 50 of them, tons, like dozens more than. So now, because of this, because we attacked on Iraqi soil, we weren't attacking ISIS. We're attacking the people who actually were fighting ISIS. There was this riots at the embassy. Now, here's the critical point. Now, a lot of people say, "Oh, this was backed by Iran." I mean, imagine, the way I would always describe it is, like, imagine if China, or Turkey. Let's say if Turkey, because during the coup, they said, oh, someone in America, Guleman or some shit, he's the one who's inspiring rebellion. Imagine if Erdogan sent a Turkish drone, bombed a person in the United States, and then went back. We would obviously be against that, right? I mean, you can't just bomb our country, no matter if you're justified. You can't, that's just, and, so because of this, it's, a lot of people say that this entire embassy thing was Iranian backed. I mean, they're not, from what I've seen, there was no evidence that I've seen so far that it was. So, I mean, it's probably, if you apply, maybe if we we bomb their country, and the people in that country, the Iraqis, and, there will be riots. Now, a lot of people said that this riot at the embassy was Trump's Benghazi. Now, Trump's been, so obviously Trump doesn't want to Benghazi, because Benghazi was like a whole huge thing, and he overreacted. So what happened was that he saw that this was getting out of hand. Some people said, oh, look, this was caused by Iranian proxies. And then what happened was that he assassinated the high-ranking Iranian general, Suleiman, and he's the person who would be the leader if this was something that happened. So basically, when this happened, he assassinated him with a drone, and now this and he did this because he thought and there was a lot of reasons. He didn't want this to be seen as some sort of embarrassment. Oh, you're getting tied up because of the embassy, and then he didn't want and then I think also he was getting mocked by him on social media or something like that. But basically he's like, well, if you're gonna like make me look bad, I'm gonna just assassinate the top ranking general. Now Suleiman is an interesting character. A lot of people are like now. I mean, it's kind of interesting how war propaganda works. People are now like saying, oh, he's the one who was involved with Iran. I mean, with 9/11. That's what Mike Pence said. A lot of people are like, oh, he killed hundreds of Americans. He killed, like all these things. And now, like, no one knew who he was. Now everyone's like now animated to go to war. So it's kind of weird in that sense. But so I think that so they assassinated him, and I think it was just because off of Trump's like, oh, he was like. Now, as I said, I'm on the right wing, and I think we could all understand that Trump is... So, I mean, I like Trump, and considering recent actions, it depends, but I might still vote for him, maybe. But as someone who, who supports a lot of Trump's agenda, I would say, a lot of the time, not all the time, but I will say that he is very petty, very, how would you say it? And very insecure, like very, very insecure, very petty. And, obviously sometimes that's good. Like when he's a very good campaigner, very good attack dog. One thing I'll say about Republicans, they're good obstructionists and so they could block Democratic agenda, and Trump is a very good, attack dog, a very good, like, if he gets attacked, he fights back. He's very good at that, and that's sometimes good politically, but when it comes to actually running a country, we need people who are very stable, he's not stable, but we need someone who's firm, who's strong, who could rationally think of things and think things through, and not just do it haphazardly. He actually thinks about things that could, like the consequences of actions. It's like a very stable leader in a sense. And we also need people who could actually pass agendas. The Republican Party and Trump can't really do that. They're not really good at that. But now when it comes to this, that's what I think this was, and then obviously what just happened yesterday was Iran responded by launching some cruise missiles. Now, from what I saw, this is actually a really good... Now, a lot of people... When I saw it, I'm like, oh, shit, this is where everything's going to go down. Now, for me, because of Trump's pettiness, because of Trump's past, just his character, I'm like, okay, they bombed American bases. And if there's American casualties, yeah, we're going to bomb Iranian targets in Iran. How's Iran going to respond to that? I don't know. I mean, it's just pointless escalation. And but turns out no Americans died, only a few Iraqis, I believe. And I think what I saw was that, I mean, and plus this is like compared to like what we did to Suleiman, this is a way under way under what they actually did. They this wasn't this was like way under, like, if it was a tit for tat. This was like we did a tit, they did like half-assed, like they did half of what they. I mean, they lobbed some cruise missiles at our Iraqi bases, killed nobody, nothing really happened. Well, they killed some Iraqis, but no Americans. So obviously this wasn't the biggest. This wasn't proportionate. Now, and from what I read, they actually told the Iraqis they were going to bomb it, and then the Iraqis told the Americans, and then the Americans hid the. So it was kind of like Trump's Syria attack, where he just bombed Syria as a show of force. I think this was them to this was like Iran's to save face or something like that. So this obviously was a good point for de-escalation. Now but I'm like, well, who knows what Trump says now? Today, Trump said, "Oh, this." From what I saw, I saw just a few clips from his speech, but he's like, "Oh, we'll put more sanctions, but this is a good time to make a new deal, and we don't want war." So this is good. So it turns out, at least for now, there's not going to be war. But in all this situation, now that we know the background, now I could actually get to what I'm going to say about this situation. This was totally unnecessary. This was a total pointless escalation. What if Iran did do something like, you know, and you know, like what if he actually did, you know, respond, you know, and this is actually really good restraint on Iran's part. Yes, they lobbed some cruise missiles, but they didn't do as much as they could. And so they obviously, so when this happened, how would it be a good point with this? I think so this was good, and you know, it's just this could have gone out of hand. Now, obviously, assassinating Soleimani, which was a top Iranian general, was the just pointless escalation. And now, because of it, because it was off on Trump's whim, they half-assed why he was gonna attack. He was imminent attack. No evidence. This was literally pulled out of their ass. It's kind of like a lot of people have to realize. Look at in the past, America will, if we need to, make up stuff to go to war. If just recently is the Iraq and the Iraq War. We spent a year propagandizing everyone. He had weapons of mass destruction. He aided 9/11, all this stuff, and none of that was true. It was complete asinine. It was horseshit. And then they're doing this again. Oh, he was going to attack Americans. He was this and that. So this all was completely out of hand. This was completely pointless escalation on Trump's part. Now, obviously, you know, when they do something like, you know, attack our base, obviously, you know, it's just the rule of geopolitics that you do tit for tat. Like if we shoot down their drone, or we kill their high ranking. Now, if they equivalently, like, imagine if they assassinated Mike Pompeo, which we would go to war. So it was a declaration of war on Iran, but Iran was calm enough to not actually go to war or do something in equal retaliation. So obviously they had to retaliate somewhat to save face, and there's just, you know, a lot of the reasons why we're fighting Iran. I mean, like, can we name why? I mean, so here's the thing. They're like, so first of all, no, Iran did not sponsor, like, we're not here because of human rights, okay? Let's dispel that. We're not here for terrorism. We're here because Iran is against Israel and Saudi Arabia. That's the only reason why we're there. Is because of geopolitics. Because it's just, you know, because Israel and Iran obviously have this, like, you know, it's just something all the Arab world has with Israel, and then also, well, Persia's not Arab, but all the Muslim world, I should say, and then Saudi Arabia versus Iran is because of the Sunni versus Shia proxy conflict. And we back Saudi Arabia and Israel, and Iran doesn't pose any sort of threat to America. The only reason why they're saying death to America is because we back their enemies, and obviously, but if we don't, then it isn't. This obviously wouldn't be the case. So first of all, we don't care about human rights. We don't care about, you know, any of the bullshit the terrorism. The people who did 9/11 was Saudi Arabia. The people who did all these attacks in you know, in Europe, from the Paris attacks and to the Brussels one, just all these terrorist attacks we've seen in Europe this past decade was done because of the Sunni version of Islam, which is something Iran's against. Name me one Shia terror attack in the Western world. No, it was all done by the Wahhabist. And while Saudi Arabia was responsible for 9/11, and maybe obviously I'm not an expert on every single terrorist attack, they haven't. We obviously, what we know is that with Saudi Arabia is that they fund these radical groups, because the same ideology that killed hundreds of Paris French people in Paris, they did the same ideology that Saudi Arabia is. But we back Saudi Arabia. We gave them a $100 billion weapons deal. Trump doesn't give a fuck, and he actually is like one of their top allies. And so obviously we don't care. This is totally against America's interests, and obviously this pointless escalation leads us more to war. Now, from what Trump has done, I think Trump does not want a ground war. I think Trump knows he doesn't want another Middle Eastern conflict. That being said, all these escalations is totally leads us more towards that. if Iran did something, or maybe this could have led us to a horrible war. Like, what if they attacked and actually killed, say, 30 Americans? What are we going to do? You know? So, obviously, they say they don't want war, but then we're just pointlessly escalating. So, this was totally unnecessary. And just totally... And so, if I had... So, that's kind of my thoughts on the matter, was this was just a horrible... Not only is this, again... I mean, obviously, then also, you know, we said, oh, we're going to, like... you know... And, you know, I mean, imagine if Trump, what was I going to say? Oh, yeah, so so all this was just that pointless escalation, as I said. And so now what is the main point? Like, what should we do for this thing, this Middle Eastern thing? So I guess this is just a little bit more broad. So for me, it's, and, you know, all this, I mean, what did we get out of this, by the way? Iran is now enriching uranium. They said we're not going to abide by the deal anymore, which is, it's actually kind of, I mean, this is a politically incorrect thing you're not supposed to say, but Iran is, or any sort of North Korea, any sort of state that's against U.S. interests, right? Like North Korea, you should get a nuke. Like, I'm not saying this would be horrible if people got a nuke. In fact, that's why I support the nuclear agreement, because I don't want an Iranian-backed nuclear weapon. But that being said, it's totally, like, legit, because if you look at all the states that actually, you know, try to negotiate with America to get rid of their nukes, like Libya, they got toppled. So America doesn't have the trustworthiness to actually, you know, de-escalate things. People now are like, oh, we need a nuclear bomb, because here's the thing: if Iran has a nuclear bomb and America had actually attacks them, like we were almost at the brink of, they're like, oh, okay, well, we'll just nuke Israel or Saudi Arabia, or, you know, and then there'd be that, and then that's a huge deterrent. That's why we don't have World War III, because the Soviet Union and America had nuclear bombs. That's the main reason. Nuclear weapons is mutually assured destruction. Now, you know, for Iran, they won't have enough nuclear bombs to maybe even hit America, or at least destroy us entirely, but, you know, they could hurt our allies. So obviously, this is a huge deterrence, and obviously it'd be really good in their interest, but we obviously don't have the trustworthiness. And, you know, here's what we got. So they're getting a nuke again, even though Trump's, oh, we're never going to get a nuke. Well, your actions just led to them getting a nuke, retard. Iraq voted us out. Now the Iraqi parliament voted us out, so they hate us. There's thousands of more troops in the Middle East, despite Trump's promise to get us out. So this leaves more people in danger. And for what? You know, for what? So, and, you know, obviously it's like, oh, and then obviously Trump's like, oh, we're going to target their cultural sites, which is, you know, it's like, oh, which is no different than ISIS. And, you know, for all his blunder about, oh, yes, we need to, you know, attack, you know, we need to respond to Iran because they, you know, one of their proxies that was sort of kind of backed by, you know, one of their, by the Quds Force was, launched some rockets and it killed a contractor of an Iraqi guy who got American citizenship in 2017. So, I mean, this is all pointlessly just stupid. And obviously I don't have to get into why a war in Iran would absolutely be the most horrible thing. If you thought Iraq and Afghanistan were horrible, oh my god. Iran would be triply, just worse in every sort of situation. And this, I mean, I could go on and on about why, but I won't go on it here. So, obviously, what should America do? So, America should take this opportunity to withdraw from the Middle East. I know everyone says that, but this is what we need to do. There's no what we need to do is in a very coordinated way work with the Iraqi parliament because they expelled us. It's kind of weird. They're like, Trump was also like, oh, we're doing this for Iraq. They don't want Iran meddling, and then they voted us out, and they're like, no, we're not leaving. So obviously this was just stupid. But so what should we do? So when we withdraw from the Middle East, what needs to happen is that America needs to retain that, what I call international, how would you say it? International neutral, like has to be a neutral arbiter of international affairs. We can't be like doing stuff for other nations. Like we have to be like, yes, Israel and Iran have their own beef, Saudi Arabia and Iran do, but what America needs to do, and my example would be kind of like Japan and Russia in 1905, I believe, when during the Russo-Japanese War, Teddy Roosevelt was America's arbiter. He made a peace agreement between them. And that was a very great, that's something that I think America should do. And my view is that America, yes, we need a strong, well-equipped military that stays at home, defends our homeland, which is kind of weird. You know, we can't have enough money to, we don't have enough money to defend our borders, but, you know, we have enough money to throw around kicking things in the sand in the Middle East. But anyway, but we need a strong, well-equipped military at home. We're kind of like, we're not isolationists. We're like, hey, we are what we are. We're a shining beacon to the world. We're not going to enforce rogue adventurism overseas or do regime change. We are who we are. We're going to defend our way of life, our American culture, our American identity at home. And this is who we are, and we're going to try to remediate disputes overseas. So maybe we could do some sort, like an Iranian nuclear deal. Maybe we could do some sort of deal between Iran and Saudi Arabia to diffuse tensions between them, because there's like some sort of Iranian or Sunni Shia proxy conflict going on, especially in Yemen. So we pull our troops out because blood for to save American lives, save American wealth, and save our American prestige, and our kind of our word is more taken seriously. And you know, so basically, so, you know, this is about geopolitics. But, you know, so to be honest, you know, we shouldn't be, instead of being like a terrorist states and an ethno states lapdog, we shouldn't spend any more blood or treasure in the Middle East. And we should help, and we should have a strong military at home. But don't be going all around the world. Don't be stationed all around the world. We need to be basically have some sort of international mediation from a neutral perspective, and not try to, because there's really no reason why we should be in the Middle East. We got, you know, the only war is like probably the Afghanistan war, because they attacked us on our soil, so obviously we won a war. But obviously now we shouldn't be in Afghanistan. But we need to be neutral, be like, okay, look, we're strong, we have a well-equipped military, but we're going to be neutral on this. We're not going to do this because of Israel, we're not going to do this because of Iran, we're going to do this neutrally, and negotiate with Iran, even though they might be a theocratic theocratic state. Well, we're already, I mean, this is not anything, different. We're allies with Saudi Arabia, a terrorist state that committed 9/11, that's a theocratic monarchy. At least in Iran, they at least have some sort of presidential elections for a president, even though they have an ayatollah. So, you know, and in any case, so we're going to negotiate with Iran, even though they're a theocracy. And yes, we could say all we want about how Suleiman was bad or Iran's bad, but that isn't the point. We deal with bad people who might not be the best people in international relations, but that's just life. You deal with bad people and you just try to make the best situation out of it. You don't pointlessly escalate into a fight. So yeah, basically, and also just to say for my channel, I'm a non-interventionist, basically. And so yeah, that's kind of my, I guess, ideas. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I want to say. I don't want to pointlessly repeat myself. But basically, yeah, this was just a pointless escalation and just very, very dangerous in terms of, and, you know, we should have not been in the Middle East in the first place, basically. And so we'll have to see how this all rolls out, but hopefully, you know, we get, you know, maybe Trump is right, maybe we get a new deal, even if it's to get his ego checked, so he could say, oh, we're going to have the same, it's a deal, and it's going to be the same deal, even, like, from the Iranian nuclear deal, except Trump's, it's gonna have Trump's name on it, whatever it takes. Hopefully he's right that we do more de-escalation, hopefully, but we'll see. You know, maybe I'll die in nuclear hellfire, who knows. Just kidding. So yeah, that's it. Aim high, wander on, from America with Russian love.